Everything you think you know about reptiles is wrong. The snake that costs $50,000 has 2 heads. The lizard that looks exactly like Spider-Man is real, and it lives on a rock in Africa. The python that is famous for being green is actually born yellow. The chameleon that everyone says changes color to blend in doesn't. Not even close. Tonight, we are not doing a nature documentary. We are taking apart the myths you grew up believing, one creature at a time, starting with a snake that should not exist and ending with the one animal that proves almost everything you learned about reptiles is a lie. Number 10. Medusa, the 2-headed snake. Worth $50,000. Her name is Medusa, not the mythology. The snake. She is a 2-headed albino Honduran milk snake, scientific name Lampropeltis hondurensis, and she hatched in a Florida facility in 2011 with a condition called dicephaly, 2 heads sharing one body, the result of twin embryos that began separating and then stopped. In the wild, this is a death sentence. 2 heads cannot agree on direction. They will fight over food. They will alert every predator in the area. Estimates suggest only about 1 in 10,000 snake births produces this condition, and almost none survive past their first few weeks. Medusa survived. In captivity, with careful feeding and handling, she grew into something the reptile world had never quite seen. A genuine 2-headed albino snake with the kind of appearance that makes people stop mid-scroll and stare. No dark pigmentation. Pure white and burning orange-red. 2 functioning heads on one body. In 2015, she was listed for sale at $50,000, 30,000 pounds. And that number tells you everything about what the world was willing to pay just to be near something that was not supposed to exist. The reason she opens this list is simple. She is the proof of concept. Nature makes things that break every rule you thought it followed. What comes next only gets stranger. Number 9. The northern blue-tongued skink, the bluff that became a blueprint. The northern blue-tongued skink, Tiliqua syncoides intermedia, lives in the dry forests and scrublands of northern Australia, and it has been running the same con for millions of years. It is a heavy, low-slung lizard, 18 to 24 inches long, with short limbs, a broad head, and a tongue that is an impossible, vivid, electric blue. For generations, people who encountered this animal in the wild assumed the blue tongue meant danger. That color, that hiss, that wide-open display. It had to be a warning. It had to be venomous. Herpetologists know better. The skink is not venomous. It has never been venomous. The entire performance, the body inflation, the loud exhale, the gaping mouth, the shocking tongue thrust directly at your face, is a bluff so refined that it convinced entire generations of humans that the animal was lethal when it was not. What makes this more interesting than a simple fake-out is what it reveals about how deception works in nature. The skink did not need to be dangerous. It only needed to look dangerous long enough for the predator to reconsider. It is ovoviviparous, keeping eggs internal and giving birth to live young, sometimes 15 or more in a single litter. It eats snails, insects, fruit, and carrion. It is, by any biological measure, an entirely ordinary lizard, and it has been successfully pretending otherwise for longer than our species has existed. Number 8. The green tree python, born the wrong color. The green tree python has one of the most misleading names in the animal kingdom, Morelia viridis, green in its very scientific name, lives in the rainforests of New Guinea, eastern Indonesia, and northern Australia, and adults are genuinely a stunning, deep, photogenic green. Every nature documentary uses them. Every reptile photographer wants them. The color is real. What is not real is the assumption that it was always that color. It wasn't. Green tree python hatchlings are born yellow, sometimes orange, sometimes a deep brick red. Not a faint yellow, a vivid, bright, impossible yellow that has nothing in common with the adult form. The change from yellow to green happens over 6 to 8 months. and the mechanism behind it involves a shift in the pigment cells beneath the skin. Nobody watching a green tree python hatchling would guess it would become one of the most beautifully green snakes on Earth. The hunting method is just as deceptive as the color change. Adults coil loosely around a branch, drape the lower part of their body in a loop, and dangle the tail tip, thin, pale, worm-like, in the air below them. Frogs and small mammals approach what appears to be an easy meal. They are not. The python's teeth number close to 100, and the strike is faster than the prey's nervous system can register. It is a snake that was born the wrong color, grew into perfection, and hunts by pretending its own tail is something else entirely. Number 7. The armadillo-girdled lizard, the living symbol. The armadillo-girdled lizard, genus Ouroboros, species Cataphractus, lives only in the succulent Karoo biome of southwestern South Africa, and its genus name is not a coincidence. Ouroboros is the ancient symbol of a serpent eating its own tail, recurring across Egyptian mythology, Norse legend, alchemical tradition, and Jungian psychology. One of the oldest symbolic images in human history, representing the infinite cycle, the self-contained, the thing that consumes and renews itself. The scientists who named this lizard chose that word deliberately, because when threatened, it does exactly what the symbol depicts. It bites its own tail. It pulls itself into a tight armored ball, spiny back facing outward, soft belly completely protected, and holds the position until the threat passes. That behavior alone would be enough to put it on this list. But there is more. Unlike the vast majority of lizard species, this one is social. It lives in family groups and colonies, sometimes 60 individuals sharing a single rock crevice. It gives birth to live young rather than laying eggs. The gestation lasts 6 to 8 months, producing 1 or 2 offspring at a time, an investment that is almost parental by lizard standards. There is a persistent myth that it rolls down hills in this curled position as an escape strategy. It does not. The roll is incidental to the defense posture, not a getaway plan. The real escape is the armor, and the name that connects it across thousands of years of human symbolism to the oldest idea we ever had about infinity. Number 6. The Asian vine snake. What its name actually means. The Asian vine snake, Ahatula prasina, haunts the forest canopy of Southeast Asia from Thailand and Malaysia to Vietnam and Indonesia, and its name in Sri Lankan carries a meaning that most of the wildlife guides leave out. Ahatula comes from a phrase meaning eye plucker, eye picker. The belief, persistent across rural communities for generations, was that this snake would drop from branches and remove human eyes. Not as an attack, as a targeted, deliberate act, as something it specifically sought out. The snake that inspired that belief is impossibly thin, sometimes no wider than a pencil, up to 6 feet long, bright green shading to yellow-green, and capable of holding itself absolutely still among vines and leaves in a way that makes it disappear entirely from view. It moves in a slow, swaying motion that mimics foliage in wind. Its head is pointed sharply at the snout, which, at the right angle, in the right light, produces a silhouette that is difficult to resolve into something familiar. It is mildly venomous through rear fangs connected to a Duvernoy's gland, but the venom poses no meaningful threat to humans. It hunts frogs, lizards, and small birds using camouflage and patience rather than speed. The eye-plucking legend is false, but the fact that it generated that specific myth, not that it was dangerous, not that it was poisonous, but that it came specifically for your eyes, says something about what this snake does to people when they encounter it in the forest without knowing what it is. It doesn't look like anything else, and that is precisely the point. Number 5. The Spider-Man lizard. The internet was right. The Mwanza flat-headed rock agama, Agama mwanzai, was first described in 1923 by British herpetologist Arthur Loveridge from specimens collected in the Rocky Highlands of Tanzania, Kenya, and Rwanda. For most of the 20th century, it remained an unremarkable entry in regional field guides, known to researchers but invisible to everyone else. Then someone posted a photograph of a dominant male online, and the internet named it correctly on the first try. The male Mwanza agama's head, neck, and shoulders are a vivid red-violet. Its body, from the torso down, is a deep electric blue. The contrast is exact. The color saturation is exact. It looks like someone painted Spider-Man's costume onto a lizard and left it on a rock in East Africa. The resemblance is not approximate. It is precise enough that the viral posts needed no caption, just the image and the name, and millions of people immediately understood. The biology behind the display is territorial. Dominant males develop this coloring to signal status, court up to 5 females simultaneously using aggressive head-bobbing displays, and defend their rock outcrop from rivals with the same intensity the colors suggest. The females are brown and deliberately understated, invisible against the rock, practical, unbothered by the spectacle happening a few feet away. In this case, the myth the internet created, that nature had somehow made a real Spider-Man, is not wrong. It just undersells the actual reason the colors exist, which is stranger and more useful than any comic book explanation. Number 4. The Thorny Devil. 2 secrets, 1 animal. The thorny devil, Moloch Horridus, was named in 1841 after an ancient deity associated with fear and sacrifice, and given the secondary name Horridus, meaning rough or dreadful. Both names were chosen purely based on its appearance: a small lizard 8 inches long, covered from the tip of its snout to the end of its tail in sharp, spike-like scales arranged in rows. It looks like something medieval. It looks like something that should be avoided. It is, by any measure of danger, completely harmless. But the thorny devil is hiding 2 secrets that have nothing to do with its appearance. The first is structural. On the back of its neck sits a false head, a spiny knob of flesh and scale that from certain angles resembles the lizard's actual head well enough to function as a decoy. The thorny devil tucks its real head between its front legs and presents the false one. The predator strikes at something that is not the brain. The lizard survives. This is not a behavior that develops in response to a specific threat. It is a permanent anatomical feature, built in, always present, always ready. The second secret is stranger. The thorny devil lives in the Australian desert, where standing water is nearly non-existent. Its solution is to drink with its skin. The microchannels between its scales form a continuous capillary network that draws water from dew, from damp sand, from any surface moisture toward the mouth. The lizard does not bend to drink. The water travels to it. These 2 facts, a built-in decoy head and a body that harvests its own water, exist in an animal named for a deity of fear, in a desert where nothing should be able to survive this well. Number 3. The tangerine Honduran milk snake, a 5-foot lie. The tangerine Honduran milk snake, Lampropeltis triangulum hondurensis, operates on a lie so effective that nature has been running it without interruption for millions of years, and humans spent most of that time believing it. This snake, originating from the tropical forests of Honduras, Nicaragua, and northern Costa Rica, is non-venomous. It has no venom glands. It poses no meaningful threat to any adult human. It can grow to 5 feet long, and every inch of that 5 feet is covered in blazing orange, red, and black bands arranged in exactly the pattern used by the coral snake, one of the most genuinely lethal snakes in the Americas, to warn predators away. This is Batesian mimicry, a harmless species evolving to resemble a dangerous one with enough fidelity that predators avoid both. The tangerine color variant takes this further. The orange bands, normally yellow or pale in wild specimens, have been intensified through selective captive breeding until they burn. The snake has been made more convincing by human hands that understood what it was doing and decided to amplify it. Even its common name is built on false information. Milk snakes were named for the myth that they entered barns to drink milk directly from cows, which is anatomically impossible and has never been observed. A snake that cannot hurt you, named for something it never did, colored to impersonate something it is not. It is, from its name to its scales, a 5-foot lie. and it is one of the most successful survival strategies any animal has ever developed. Number 2. The San Francisco garter snake, the most beautiful survivor. On March 11, 1967, the San Francisco garter snake, Thamnophis sirtalis tetratenia, was listed as federally endangered in the United States, making it one of the first animals in the country to receive that designation. That date matters. It was not listed because it had recently declined. It was listed because the people looking at the numbers realized it had always existed in a razor-thin corridor of coastal wetlands in San Mateo County, California, and that the corridor was disappearing faster than the snake could adapt. Today, researchers estimate between 1,000 and 2,000 adults remain in the wild. The snake is almost certainly the most visually striking in North America. A red or orange head, bright turquoise-green stripes running the length of the back, bordered by black and then red, with a blue-green belly that shifts in direct sunlight. Every color in its pattern is at maximum saturation. There is no muted version. It looks like something that should not exist in the fog and wetlands of coastal California, and it has existed there, exactly like this, for as long as anyone has documented it. The myths about its danger come directly from the colors. Vivid banding in reptiles signals venom, so people assumed. The snake is not dangerous to humans. It has mild saliva compounds for subduing prey, nothing more. Its prey is specific, primarily frogs, which it hunts through wetlands that are being drained, developed, and paved faster than the snake population can relocate. Its one extraordinary survival trait is a complete tolerance for the California newt, one of the most toxic vertebrates in North America, capable of killing a human who ingests it, which the garter snake eats without consequence. The most beautiful snake on the continent survives in part because it can eat something almost nothing else can touch. It is still not enough. The wetlands keep shrinking. Number 1. The panther chameleon, the myth everyone believes. The panther chameleon, Furcifer pardalis, sits at number 1 because it is responsible for the single most widespread misconception about reptiles that exists, and possibly one of the most widespread misconceptions about any animal on Earth. You have heard it your entire life. The chameleon changes color to blend into its surroundings. It is camouflage. It is the ultimate disguise. It is none of those things. The color change in the panther chameleon, and in chameleons generally, is not camouflage. It is communication. The mechanism involves layers of iridophore cells beneath the skin that contain nanocrystals arranged in a lattice structure. When the lizard is calm, the crystals are packed tightly and reflect shorter wavelengths, blues and greens. When it is excited, stressed, or aggressive, the lattice expands, reflecting longer wavelengths, oranges, reds, yellows. The chameleon does not choose a color to match its environment. It broadcasts its internal state in the only language its species reads fluently. When a male encounters a rival, it does not hide. It becomes as visible as possible, shifting to its most aggressive pattern, puffing up, holding its position, because the point is not to disappear. The point is to be seen. The panther chameleon, first described by French naturalist Georges Cuvier in 1829, lives in the coastal forests of Madagascar and surrounding islands, where males grow to 20 inches and display colors that range across reds, oranges, blues, greens, and yellows depending on geographic origin. Females are muted, pale greens, browns, soft pinks, with one exception. When pregnant, they shift to dark coloration with bright orange or pink markings to signal that they are not available and should not be approached. The chameleon's tongue exceeds its body length and strikes faster than the human eye can track. Its feet are fused into 2 gripping pads, perfect for narrow branches. Its tail is prehensile. It is, by any measure, one of the most sophisticated animals in the reptile world, and it has spent 2 centuries being famous for doing something it does not actually do. The color is not a disguise. It never was. It is a declaration. 10 creatures. Every single one of them misunderstood. a snake that was never supposed to have two heads, a lizard that pretends its neck is its face, a python born the wrong color, a chameleon that is not hiding, it is shouting. The pattern here is not random. The most dangerous thing about these animals was never their venom or their size. It was how confidently we thought we already knew what they were. Think about how many other things you are looking at right now with the same certainty. Subscribe, because we are just getting started.